discuss Oxy Fuel Cutting, acronym OFC. In this process, we're going to be using two gases, oxygen and acetylene. The first thing we want to do is talk about safety. You want to always make sure the cylinders are strapped in. We don't want to have any accidents where those cylinders could fall off the cart. So our cylinders are strapped in safely. The next thing we do, we want to check the cylinder hoses. We want to make sure the hoses have no cuts, bruises, abrasions, anything that could cause an accident, where there could be a leak, which could cause an explosion. So in review of our hoses, we're in pretty good shape. The next thing we want to do, we want to check our regulators. We want to make sure the regulators on both cylinders are at 0. For our oxygen, both gauges are at 0. Our acetylene, both gauges are at 0. Then we want to check the regulator adjustment screws. These screws must be loose before you start. When they're loose, we know that regulator adjustment screws are loose. We know that there's no gas trapped inside the regulator diaphragm. If there were a gas buildup in the diaphragm of those regulators, it could damage the internal workings of it. So right now we're safe, they're loose. So the person that used it last actually bled the system out. There's no gas trapped in those diaphragms. The next thing we want to do is clean out our tip orifice. We're going to take tip cleaners. You're going to find the appropriate size, and you want to clean out these orifices. Orifices are the holes in the torch tip. And the reason we do this is to make sure that there's no molten metal stuck inside the orifices, which could prevent you from making a clean cut. So we're going to clean all of them out, the cutting orifice and the preheating orifices. Should there be an obstruction, we would have to either clear it or change the tip out. Now I'm going to set the cylinder pressures for the working pressure. Now we're going to open our acetylene cylinder valve. Now this gas is highly explosive. We can only use it in small amounts at a time. This mixture is calcium carbide and water. So in case of emergency, we need to get out of here and this gas is on, we can quickly shut it off. That's why we're only going to turn the cylinder valve on the acetylene 1.5 turns only. And that's it. Now we're going to set our working pressure. Again, you never stand directly in front of the regulator adjustment screw. And the reason we don't stand in front of these is because sometimes if these regulators are faulty or damaged, and you stand in front of this and you try to set the working pressure, the pressure stuck inside will make the regulator adjustment screws shoot off and hit you in the face. So you always stand safely to the side and set your pressure. We're going to be using approximately 5 psi. Now if you come in close, right here on our working pressure gauge for the acetylene, you can see it's in red. It starts red here. That's at 15 psi. That is the highest working pressure that you can use with this cylinder. We tend really not to go that high, but should you turn it up and it goes up past 10, 15 is the max. And the reason we don't pass that is because the cylinder can become unstable and actually explode. Okay, so now we're going to perform a cut. First I'm going to lay out a line and then I'll set the torch. We're going to use soapstone and make our mark. And I'm going to use this piece of tubing as a guide. Now I have to switch out my safety glasses for cutting goggles. These are shade 5. Because of the brightness of this flame, we have to have our eyes protected. So shade 5 is recommended for Oxy Fuel Cutting. There are 3 basic welding flames, cutting flames. We have our carburizing, which means an excess of acetylene. We have our oxidizing, which is an excess of oxygen. And we have our neutral flame, which is an even mix of both gases. That will be the flame that we're going to use to perform the cut. And I'll show you the flame once I have it set. So this is my friction lighter. I'm going to turn on the acetylene just 1/16 of a turn. And then I'm going to light it. Now you see this black soot? We want to get rid of that. So we're going to increase the acetylene until it goes away. Now we're going to turn on our oxygen on the lower needle valve. And then on the upper oxygen needle valve is where we mix the 2 gases together. And you see that short blue cone? See that short blue cone? That is our neutral flame. This is the flame that you want to cut. So now I'm going to perform a straight line cut. You want to get comfortable so that you can just follow your line. You want the tip of the blue cone to touch the plate. You wait until the plate reaches kindling, and then you push the lever all the way down and follow the line. And now it's completely off from the torch. Now we have to clear the lines of the gas that's been running through it. First thing you want to do is shut off your power sources. Then you want to back out the regulator adjustment screws. Again, do not stand directly in front of them for safety reasons. Loosen them up. Now we want to open our needle valves and bleed the lines. You want to make sure all the needles on your gauges are at 0. That's how you know that the lines have been safely bled. Then you take your torch hose, wrap it up, and put the torch safely away for the next person to use. And that's the end of our Oxy Fuel Cutting demo.